This is Meltdown Live, presented by MyBookie.ag. Use code NEXTROUND at MyBookie.ag for double your initial deposit. You sign on to make a deposit, they double it with code NEXTROUND at MyBookie.ag. Bet anything, anytime, anywhere. MyBookie.ag.
Here we are celebrating on this final day of 2024, the birth of the Meltdown, which made its debut this year. And we are thrilled to be here with you on this final day of the year, talking about all of our favorite movies of the past several months. I am Tim Melton. Joining me here in the Culver studio, that would be the one, the only Tyler Johns. Tyler, how you doing, man? I feel like we're in a little bit of a ghost town.
It is a bit of a ghost town around here. I think we might be like some of the only people in the building at the moment.
I think that that is very
'Cause
much the case.
when I uh when I walked out to go to the restroom, I didn't see anybody.
Right.
And then earlier when I grabbed some lunch and came back up here, I didn't see anybody.
Yeah.
So I think everybody's gone. We might be the only people left working in this town.
It's like Orlok's castle up in this place. I mean, there's just kind of an eeriness, but
Oh
you
yeah.
know what? We're going to power through. I am very excited about today's episode because we are going to be talking about the best of the best, our favorite films of the year. For those that may have missed it, we put out a video of our least favorite experiences cinematically. I even threw in a television show. That video is up on the channel, and it was cathartic, but it made me a little angry to relive all the trauma and the pain of all the horrible things that we watched this year. Tyler, you've seen more horrible things than anybody, but it was really a task of most disappointing because
Yeah.
it's the things we had expectations for that really let us down. Those things typically hurt the most.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm not gonna have the same sort of passion for dunking on not another church movie because I went into that movie expecting it to be fairly even a movie, and that's exactly what it was. So it doesn't hurt me in the same way that something like a Stranger's Chapter 1 hurts.
Yes, and that one got a big shout out there in our most trash films of 2024. But it's time to get into the good stuff, and we're going to get right into it. I'm going to start with my number 10 favorite film of the year, and this is September 5th. Set during the 1972 Munich Summer Olympics, the film follows an American sports broadcasting team that quickly adapted from sports reporting to live coverage of the Israeli athletes taken hostage. It was seen globally by an estimated 1 billion people at the time. And this is a film that is very non Hollywood in its approach. I mean, you feel like you're in the room, you feel like you are right there making crucial broadcast decisions of how to best cover this story. And I love the way that they integrate ABC coverage into actual ABC coverage that was on the television into the film itself. And I think it's expertly crafted. Could it have used a couple more monologues? Could it have used a couple of more Hollywood moments? I think so, if it was going to be trying to be a little bit more commercial in its approach. It feels more like a documentary than it does even a scripted piece of fare. Tyler, I'm honestly not sure whether or not September 5th made your list, but if something that I say doesn't make your list, please tell me because this will be our chance to talk about it.
So this just missed the
Okay.
cut. This would have been number 12, I think. It just barely missing that top 10. I thought it was very expertly done, and you really feel the weight behind the decisions of the characters in the movie.
Mhm.
And like you said, it feels more like a documentary or a docudrama.
Yeah.
Not even really docudrama. This feels more real than a docudrama, even though I guess that would technically be what it is. Um, I mean, it's just incredible.
It is. It's very tense and it takes the subject matter very seriously. And I think it's really good. I hope it gets some award buzz. I hope it starts to pick up. It is set to release in January of 2025 wide, so people will get a chance to actually see it. But if you're interested in broadcast dramas with some real stakes based on a historical story that riveted the world, This one is one that I highly recommend in September 5th, making my top 10 there in the 10th spot of best films of 2024. I'm going to move on to number 9 for me. And this is a film I think we're going to be probably talking about more as we move on in the conversation, and that would be Nosferatu, a gothic tale of obsession between a haunted young woman and the terrifying vampire infatuated with her, causing untold horror in its wake. This has Bill Skarsgård, Lily Rose Depp, Nicholas Hoult, and Aaron Taylor Johnson with Willem Dafoe. It's a great cast. It's a period piece that doesn't pull any punches. It really puts you in that time frame unapologetically. This is a 19th century story tale that is eerie, it's cold, it's dark, it's at times completely ruthless and heartless, but it also is like the perfect counter programming to the holiday season of 2024. It released on Christmas Day, which is kind of a big thematic risk. A lot of people thought, "Oh, that will never work," and it has had people filling up these theaters and selling them out left and right. It's done really well. I hope it also gets some awards buzz. I think that the genre, the horror genre, is something that gets crapped on by the Academy constantly. And I think the last horror movie to win Best Picture, maybe the only horror movie to win Best Picture,
Probably Silence of the Lambs, right?
Silence of the Lambs, and some people would say that's not even really a horror movie. I disagree. I think it is a horror movie.
We're splitting hairs there.
Yes, but I would love to see Nosferatu get some love, especially on the technical side, because this is a beautiful movie. This may be the most beautiful movie I've seen all year. I think I once I started going through my list again, there's one thing that maybe I would challenge it with, but I think Nosferatu is a very strong contender for a cinematography award. And any frame of this movie, you could pull it and turn it into a painting that is beautiful to hold in your home if you happen to live in Transylvania. It's fantastic. But vampire movies, are they back? One movie we didn't get into in our most disappointing list that both of us walked out quite down on was Abigail.
Abigail.
Like, I really did not like Abigail.
That was a rough watch.
Some people love it.
Some people do. I couldn't get behind that one.
No, but Nosferatu brought vampire cinema back, and
Oh
it
yeah.
ended the year much stronger than maybe we began it with Abigail. So I'm a big fan of this film. I don't think it's the film of the year by any means, but I do think it's top 10 worthy. I'm trying not to go off of recency bias as well because a lot of people the last thing they saw is the last thing that they love the most, and not my case here with Nosferatu. It was one of my most anticipated of 2024, and I'm happy to say that it delivered exactly what I wanted it to be. So, Nosferatu at number 9. Let's move on to my number 8, and this was a little bit of a surprise for me, but I was blown away by the acting performances in this film from both, I think, co-leads. Kieran Culkin in A Real Pain is being championed as Best Supporting Actor, but he's really a co-lead in this, and they're doing it for awards purposes, and I understand why. I would do the same thing because it's going to be a lot more buzz if you have Eisenberg going for the lead and Kieran Culkin going for supporting. This is about mismatched cousins David and Benji touring Poland to honor their grandmother. Their adventure becomes complicated as old tensions resurface while exploring their family history. This may be my favorite review we shot all year long. I thought it was a really good
Oh
conversation,
yeah.
and I love the depth of this, but it doesn't spoon feed you depth. Like, this is a movie that respects the intellect of its audience. This is a movie that is craving you to pick up on the subtleties of the performance. It's not overly showy. There's not some sort of gimmick or trick. It brings you places. You experience it with a group that's on a tour through Poland, and it's just less is more in this movie.
Absolutely. There's no big exposition where they really preach to you why the characters are going through what they're going through.
Yeah.
It's just you either pick up on it or you don't, and that is more realistic than a traditional drama movie.
Jesse Eisenberg is in an interesting position here because he not only stars in the movie, he directs the movie as well. Did he write the
He
movie? He
wrote it
wrote
as
the movie
well.
too. And he's fantastic as he doesn't get to have as much fun on screen as Kieran Culkin does. And he has to be reserved in his role of playing more of the straight man, playing more of the reactor, playing more of the apologist. And it's just a fantastically subtle performance that really raised a lot of respect for me for Jesse Eisenberg and what he did with this entire production. Rumors about the production have it where maybe Jesse Eisenberg and Kieran Culkin weren't the best of friends. They didn't really get along, it seems. Kieran Culkin was trying to drop out of this production right before it began, and I don't think they're the rosiest of friends by any means, but it works really well with the on-screen performances and the final product for sure. And I can champion this movie as being one of my favorites there at the number 8 spot, a real pain. If you like adult dramas, I've got a number of them for you here on my list, but A Real Pain is definitely one of the very best of 2024. And I look forward to seeing what it potentially does in the awards race. I think it will get a Best Picture nomination. It's right on the fringe there of whether or not it'll make the cut. I think it will. And I would love to see Jesse Eisenberg actually get a Best Actor nom. I don't think it's going to happen, but I would love it. I think Kieran Culkin's almost a lock there for Best Supporting. Okay, number 7. This is a under the radar pick that not a lot of other people champion, but it was one of those movies that I went in with zero expectations and was so impressed by, and it felt like I went on a ride with these two characters, and that is the film Daddy-O. It stars Sean Penn and Dakota Johnson, and normally when you hear Dakota Johnson in 2024, immediately you're thinking Madam Web. And that's not a very pleasant road to go down. But what is a pleasant road to go down is in the back of Sean Penn's taxi as a woman gets into a taxi at New York Airport and gradually tells the driver about her unfortunate decisions that led to an affair with a married man. The driver also reveals more and more about his life. This felt to me like a stage play. I mean, it's very low budget, two characters in a car ride through New York talking about their lives, talking about lessons they learned through life. It's very low key, sultry. I mean, there's a lot of
Low key, it's in the title.
yeah, it's called Daddy-O. Okay, it's not low key. It like hits you over the face with a shovel with it, okay? But it's like not the crux of the movie.
No, I would agree. It's much more focused on the depth of conversation between Sean Penn and Dakota Johnson in this one singular cab ride and just learning about people's perspective on life in the short amount of time we
I,
get spent.
I was one of the only people in the theater seeing Daddy-O,
Same here.
okay? And it made it better. It was like a podcast.
It was,
It
yeah.
was like a podcast. You're on a car ride and you're listening to a podcast and you go, you know what? I'm really enjoying this. And you're driving down the road and you're like, this is really good conversation. Like, I'm engaged. By the way, all of our podcasts up there on your favorite platforms. But this isn't a cheap plug. This is a plug, however, for Daddy-O, not a movie that a lot of people know about, or it's very underrated. I think it's well written, well acted. Sean Penn's fantastic in this.
Oh
Dakota
yeah.
Johnson's fantastic in this.
She's great in this. It's amazing what she can do if you actually give her a competent script. Looking at you, Madam Webb, with that awful,
I,
awful story.
I'm going to safely assume Daddy-O did not make your top 10 list.
It did not. I do think it has some of the best dialogue writing out of all the movies we've seen this year, though.
It's an adult drama for sure, and it's not going to appeal to everybody, but it's like a really good relationship podcast between two people with various backgrounds, very different viewpoints on life that have a really good conversation on screen. And I really enjoyed my number 7 pick, which is Daddy-O. Okay, I'm going to get into my number 6 pick here before I turn the reins over to Tyler. And this is the most underappreciated horror movie of the year. As a woman starts to question her own faith when she uncovers a terrifying conspiracy to bring about the birth of evil incarnate in Rome, The First Omen. This thing is sneaky good. And look, a lot of horror prequels and sequels, it's just like, okay, enough already. We get it. calm down. They get diluted over time. I wish I would have looked up who directed the first Omen before I started this whole thing, but whoever it is, kudos to you because you put a lot of love into this movie and it deserved more of a look because this is a prequel to The Omen from 1976. Could have been a complete throwaway, and it turned into what I think is a wonderful body horror movie. It's really tense. I can't believe they got away with some of the stuff they showed on screen.
Man,
Yeah. Like,
that one scene with the hand.
yeah,
Oh,
I know exactly what you're talking.
uh,
Yeah, there's times where I was getting squeamish, but
uh,
it wasn't like, I don't know, it wasn't gross. It was just like very impactfully horrific. And the first Omen, um, maybe it didn't appeal to a younger audience because it does come from a sort of a legacy horror property, and people didn't really give it the time of day because maybe they thought it was a little buttoned up, old school horror. And I'm telling you, this thing, the imagery from it still sticks with me
oh
after having
yeah.
seen this.
They composed the shots in this very beautifully. I also think it has great sound design and that it made it a genuinely tense and startling movie to watch. Unsettling. It
I'm
sticks with you.
I'm right there with you. It was something that was uncomfortable and enjoyably uncomfortable. Charles Dance is in this. I'm kind of a sucker for Charles Dance. John Saber, a good friend of mine, is a huge Charles Dance fan, and he sort of made me appreciate Charles Dance even more. And he's got a very impactful moment in this that if you haven't seen the first Omen, it's on Hulu and worth the watch if you are a horror movie fan and you feel like you could give this one a chance. If you're not a horror movie fan, this one's not going to change your opinion, but I think it is very underappreciated and is low key. I mean, this thing cooks. It just happened to come out the exact same time frame as Immaculate did, and those movies are mirror images of one another. I just think the first Omen is the stronger of the two.
Also, it has Ralph Ineson, who's also in Nosferatu.
That is correct, and he's fantastic in this movie. Man, I love it. It plays almost like a conspiracy detective flick as well. I love it. The first Omen there in my number 6 spot. Okay, so there we have it. My first 5 movies off the board. I will get into my top 5 here shortly, but I want to start off now with Tyler's number 10 on your best of the year list.
So, starting off with number 10, bit of a horror movie. We're both horror fans. We're both also fans of broadcast dramas. And what better movie to mix those two than Late Night with the Devil? I absolutely love this movie. I went into it pretty much blind, only off of your recommendation, and this was fantastic. It really takes you back to that 70s talk show sort of feel, and it's very tense. I love the way the story unfolds. I love just the production design of it, and I'm a sucker for found footage movies, whether it's Blair Witch, VHS, or something like Late Night with the Devil, where the gimmick is you're watching the master tapes of the broadcast from that night, as well as some behind the scenes footage. I really like David Dalmatian, and yeah, I just think this is a very well written film with a lot of great characters that balance out the film. I really like the skeptic character in this.
I have spent a long time trying to figure out how to pronounce the main actor's name in this. And
Did I
you
get
did
it?
not.
Ah,
I'm gonna
dang
help
it.
you. I'm gonna help you because he deserves the credit. David Desmalchian is the name.
Dastmalchian?
Desmalchian is the name.
Okay.
Yes, I've been practicing in the mirror. Can you tell?
Dastmalchian.
Desmalchian. It doesn't sound like it should be, but that's the way it is. And then watch me have it wrong again. I don't think I do. But I've been practicing that. But he's fantastic as Jack Delroy. And
Oh yeah.
yeah, I'm glad that this made your list. When you were talking about broadcast dramas, I was like, are you adding September 5th? Did I encourage you now to make September 5th a top 10 pick? But Late Night with the Devil, very strong pick to start off the list there, Tyler. All right, ready to move on to number 9?
Moving on to number 9 on my list. It is what I think is the best family movie of the year. It's the best Pixar-esque movie of the year, not made by Pixar, but by DreamWorks. It's The Wild Robot. I think the animation in this film is absolutely beautiful, and it's got a lot of heart. A lot of people mentioned crying from this movie. I was not one of those. I wish it had impacted me in that kind of way, but I just had a good time. There's also a scene where a bunch of raccoons get just yoinked into the ocean, just launched. She flings them 300 yards into the deep blue sea, and I really enjoyed seeing that. Uh, it's kind of similar tone as Wall-E or maybe Wall-E mixed with like a Snow White or something. I don't know. But this was a fun movie that I wasn't expecting to like as much as I did. I really love the color palette in this, though.
2025 will not be a good year for Snow White, but 2024 a good year for The Wild Robot. It's in contention for Best Animated Feature of the Year. I think it's a strong contender to win. And
I think it is too. It has a bit more attention than some other picks for that category, like a Memoirs of a Snail. I think that's a very well done film, but it never got the kind of buzz that The Wild Robot created.
And you know what will The Wild Robot was very successful financially too,
Hmm.
but it wasn't a billion-dollar movie like Inside Out 2 was. And I think one thing that will hurt Inside Out 2's Oscar hopes is the fact that it made so much money and it's like, well, we can even it out with giving The Wild Robot the trophy and Inside Out 2 all the money. So, I think that the
It's
popular
almost up to 1.7 billion. I
yeah,
don't think Disney's crying about missing the awards.
I don't think so. Both will be nominated, but that they're sort of duking it out for who will win in that category. I watched The Wild Robot here recently after all the hype. The Wild Robot also benefited from a lot of teenagers buying Terrifier 3 tickets. For the they bought the Wild Robot tickets and then went into Terrifier 3, so that also helped. If I'm looking to launch a kids movie, I'm going to do it around the time of a giant horror release
Oh
because
yeah.
I'm going to make some extra money. But the Wild Robot, it didn't work as much for me. Maybe it was overhyped. I don't know. I don't like robots, robot cinema, really.
Oh.
I'm not a big sci-fi guy. I'm not a big technological advancement on screen guy. Um,
So you were never an Iron Giant fan?
nope.
Oh.
Wally,
I wasn't big on Wall-E, but I love Iron Giant.
even Terminator, I like it, but I'm not like in love with it, right?
I agree with that.
I think Terminator 2 is one of the best action movies, ever made,
I
but
agree
I
with that.
wouldn't have it in my top 50 favorite movies of all time for me personally.
I wouldn't either.
I hate the movie I, Robot. I hate
Oh,
ha
no, 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 stop right there, stop, stop. Let's just move on to my number 8 choice.
are we really doing this?
Yeah, yeah, I love iRobot.
Okay,
I
well,
I think that movie is great.
I
That's
hope you get a s
classical
hope you get a
stuff.
sequel sometime. Okay, let's move on to number 8.
Alright, moving on, number 8, a movie I did not expect to enjoy nearly as much as I did. I didn't expect it to be as engaging as just as well crafted as it was, and that was Challengers with Zendaya. It is a love triangle between professional tennis players, and it bounces around in time. Uh, kind of, it's just a slow burn, slow reveal of all of the relationship drama and how it got to the point you see in the quote unquote present day. I thought this was absolutely brilliant. Very well acted. I love the tennis ball sequence towards the end. You get a point of view from the tennis ball during a tennis match. Uh, that looked absolutely insane. And this is one where every scene in this movie matters. You can't take out a single scene and the movie still makes sense. You have to have every scene in there. There's no fat to the story at all, and that's why I think it's just very well done.
Very strong film, very strong performances, young cast. I don't know what the legacy of the film will be as it came out pretty early in the year, and will it get a re-release? Will it get some more love here going into the award season? Who the heck knows? But an adrenaline rush, um, you know, maybe the funniest film of the year at times. I mean, like,
At times, and then at other times, it's why are they laughing?
it was a laugh out loud movie for our audience that was really into it. We saw this together, and once again, a action packed. love triangle as you laid out there, and one that has a lot of fans that really like the design of how they presented the story. All right, let's move on to number 7 on your list.
Moving on to number 7. I believe this is your number 1 movie of the year. It is Sean Baker's Anora with Mikey Madison. I thought this film was incredible. Mikey Madison delivered one of the best leading actress performances I've seen this year, and I just love the feeling of the movie. It feels like a sort of gritty Goodfellas mixed with Pretty Woman, and I had a lot of fun with it. It was very funny at times. It has sort of a Quentin Tarantino kind of tone when the henchmen are on screen. They do the whole thing where the criminals are talking about different television shows they watch, foods they eat, stuff like that. Uh, I really enjoyed this, and I know you did too, as well, Tim. It's your number 1 movie of the year. It's your
I don't like what you're doing here. First of all, you don't let me crap on iRobot. Okay, that's fine. But secondly, you're here trying to provoke me into anger when we've already done our angry podcast. We've already done the one where we rant against movies that disappointed us. I chose not to choose Anora during that because it didn't work for me, wasn't my thing. But it's not, I mean, it's still the Oscar frontrunner right now. And, I see what you're doing here, and I'm going to try not to take the bait. But I mean, I guess you just like being an anarchist here with Anora. Um, this should have been called a snora because it's a snooze fest. No, I actually it wasn't a snooze fest. You can't sleep during this movie because there's too
no,
much
there's
yelling.
no chance.
You, I needed to take some ibuprofen after watching this. I mean, it caused me to have a headache. It's just screaming. If you like the Jersey Shore, okay, and you're like, man, I wish they'd make that into a 2 hour plus movie. You should watch Anora. You would you'd love that. But for me, when I watch The Jersey Shore, I don't I don't want to spend any more time with those people than I have to, and I just felt the same with Anora. It was it was it was pain inducing for me, and I
Well,
did not enjoy it.
I was Jay wowed by this movie.
You were.
Oh,
Okay, let's move on.
all right, moving on. A movie that I know you actually liked a lot more. It was also on your list that you presented, and that is A Real Pain. I went into this movie not really knowing what to expect because it doesn't really give much away from trailers and different blurbs and stuff like that. All you know is it's a trip through Poland with 2 cousins. What I did not know going in was how emotional this movie would be. I think this perfectly lays out just family drama and trauma growing up. It really depicts those relationships well. I had Kieran Culkin, like you said, has a great performance as sort of the wacky goofball neurotic character. Not so much neurotic, actually. Just he's a wacky goofball. And Jesse Eisenberg, I think, actually has the stronger performance playing the straight man who, has to keep it all together even when everything is falling apart.
Yeah, this is a movie where both characters and their sanity is on display, and they both have their sanity meters going down a little bit for different reasons, and you have to kind of figure out, you know, which one makes the stronger case for why they're being emotionally complex. I love this film. It's really, really good. And, it sounds so simple on paper, but the details of this movie is where it really shines. So we both are very high on A Real Pain. We want to remind you that if you're dealing with a real tooth pain, to go out and visit the dental team that we trust most, located on Grants Mill Road. Dr. Jeff, Dr. Brian, and Dr. Nolan over at Alabama Dental Associates, providing you with all sorts of services when it comes to staying on top of your dental health. Who knows? Maybe since COVID times, you're like, man, I need to get back to some regular checkups, some regular cleanings. We kind of all put those off during those times where those in office visits became tedious. No longer the case. Make sure you head out to Alabama Dental Associates. Reach out and try them for yourself. They're accepting new patients now and can help you feel at ease about all of your upcoming dental procedures. For more information or to make an appointment, call 205 956 8977 or visit alabamadental.com where they look forward to seeing you. Okay, we are now moving on to my second half of my top 10 of the year. Once again, I had at number 10, September 5th. At number 9, Nosferatu. At number 8, A Real Pain. At number 7, Daddy-O. And at number 6, The First Omen. Number 5 is a shocker. This is the one I'm most likely to get hate for having on my list, in the top 5 especially. But I thought that they did a real good job with this, especially after hearing about all the drama that was going on behind the scenes, and that is It Ends With Us. I don't know, maybe it was just a perfect day. I took my wife to go see this. We had a great day date where we talked about the movie, and I don't know, going to the movies with my wife, it's a wonderful thing. And we went to go see this one where Lily Bloom moves to Boston to chase her lifelong dream of opening her own business. A chance meeting with a charming neurosurgeon soon sparks an intense connection, but as the two fall deeply in love, she begins to see sides of Ryle that remind her of her parents' relationship. When Lily's first love, Atlas, suddenly re enters her life, her relationship with Ryle gets upended, leaving her with an impossible choice. Now, since this movie has come out and it did really well, it was a little bit of a Barbenheimer sort of situation along with Deadpool and Wolverine. And It Ends With Us led to financial success. It led to more Colleen Hoover books being adapted into film. It's really been looked at across the board as being a success, minus the fact that it's not getting any awards consideration. And Justin Baldoni and Blake Lively want to rip each other's spines out. They hate each other. This is a group that is accusing the other of acting insane. Blake Lively is threatening legal action and is trying to destroy Justin Baldoni for what she claims was destruction against her and her career. She says it cost her an SNL hosting gig. Reputationally, these two are trying to do as much harm as they possibly can to one another, and this may become the legacy of the film. But it's unfortunate because this film is set up for a sequel, and I don't see Justin Baldoni and Blake Lively working together ever again, no matter the cost. But we shall see. I don't know. When it comes to the movie itself, I just thought it was like a perfect adult drama matinee where I could go in, we could have some tough conversations about the characters and their motivations and all that. I was the only man in the theater, but I guess I linked into my sensitive side, and it may have ended with them, but it starts with me encouraging more men to watch this movie with their loved ones, and it'll
I
be a good one.
assume, I guess nobody else was able to, or I guess nobody else got roped into seeing it. Um,
You're talking about the other men?
yeah, being the only guy there.
Yeah, they were
Everybody
all.
else was like, "No, no, I'll go see Deadpool again,"
You're right.
something like that.
I am the most devoted husband of all time, Tyler. Thank you for that commendation.
I didn't say you weren't. I didn't say you weren't.
But I really liked it. I thought it was well handled. It takes a sensitive subject in domestic abuse, and I think the way it presents it is very compelling and starts a lot of conversations that I think are healthy. So It Ends With Us at my number 5 spot. I'm shocked too. At number 4, my favorite talk show host movie of the year, where Johnny Carson plays the bad guy. And it's, Saturday Night Live, the SNL movie, Saturday Night, also had Johnny Carson playing the bad guy. Late Night with the Devil. In 1977, a live television broadcast goes horribly wrong, unleashing evil into the nation's living rooms. This takes place on Halloween night. Tyler talked about it already on his list. David Dastmalchian plays Jack Delroy, and all the night owls are up trying to make sure that they're consuming this broadcast as it happens live, and things get wacky. Things get eerie. Things get creepy. This gets into different cults, that what they want to try to accomplish with having power and influence over the American public. And it feels like network a little bit at times. And I really, really like it. It's almost like if
Network mixed with Eyes Wide Shut.
It's got that for sure, yes. I almost got a little bit of a Joker vibe off of it as well
A little bit.
because of what happens there in the Murray Franklin show, and this is kinda crazy. How far will one man go to be at the top of the ratings? That is the question. We work in the broadcast business, so, there are things that we see behind the scenes that does not compare to what is happening in this movie, but that sort of quest to be number 1, that sort of unquenchable thirst to be at the top of the pack, it can drive good men crazy sometimes, and Late Night with the Devil is a perfect example of that sort of thing. So if you haven't watched it, I don't know where it's at right now.
Shudder.
I think it's
It's
is
a
it
it's
still
it
Shudder?
it's a Shudder original, so I assume it's still there.
I didn't know if maybe they had, like, put it somewhere else so it could get more eyeballs, if it had made its way over to Hulu or if it was still on Shudder only and exclusively.
Let's double check that. Oh, it's on Hulu as well.
It's on Hulu. Okay, I thought it was. It's Late Night with the Devil is a very quality film, very good time, and one of my favorite horror movies of the year. Not my favorite horror movie of the year. We'll get to that here in just a second. But Late Night with the Devil is a very strong, strong piece of art. Okay, we move on to my number 3. I just mentioned this one, Deadpool and Wolverine. I thought this movie had a very complex mission, which is make people care about the MCU again. This was a historically bad comic book superhero movie year. But Deadpool and Wolverine was the one that broke through and saved us all from what could have been just absolute misfire after misfire. Deadpool and Wolverine is a hit as Deadpool's peaceful existence comes crashing down when the Time Variance Authority recruits him to help safeguard the multiverse. He soon unites with his would be pal Wolverine to complete the mission and save his world from an existential threat. Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman have been, they are, when you talk about actors with chemistry, Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman have blazing hot chemistry as comedic and dramatic duos. These guys are fantastic together. This made the Billion Dollar Club, became the highest grossing R rated movie of all time, surpassing 2019's Joker. And this movie had a mission. It not only hit that, it then just absolutely exceeded those expectations and made people care again about the MCU for a minute. We'll see if Brave New World, coming out in February, is able to sort of take that torch and run with it. I don't think it will. I think it's going to be an uphill battle for Marvel for a majority of the year as they try to get people to invest in a lot of the secondary characters. Deadpool and Wolverine, it was almost, it was a complete love letter to the Fox superhero universe, and at times it made me emotional. Like the end credit scene when they're showing all of the old set photos of making those films. I grew up on all those X-Men movies, and I absolutely thought that this one sentimentally hit the right tone over and over and over again. It's also very funny. It's got great action, great cameos. You got Wesley Snipes in this thing. It's a fantastic experience. It's on Disney Plus. Go enjoy it if you haven't already for some reason. Deadpool and Wolverine at the number 3 spot. All right, number 2, this is a movie Tyler talked about, Challengers, as Tashi, a tennis player turned coach, has transformed her husband from a mediocre player into a world-famous Grand Slam champion. But to jolt him out of recent losing streaks, she makes him play a challenger event, close to the lowest level of tournament on the Pro Tour. Tensions soon run high when he finds himself standing across the net from the once promising, now burnt out Patrick, his former best friend, and Tashi's former boyfriend. Zendaya, Mike Faced, Josh O'Connor, they're all tremendous in this. I think that the drama, the action, the way it's shot, this movie makes you care about tennis. I can't think of a second tennis movie that I like as much as this one. Some people will say Wimbledon. Okay, I'll take Challengers any day of the week. I think it's a very strong movie. I think it's shot beautifully. I'm debating between this and Nosferatu of like what should win on the cinematography award if I had to choose between the two. But the way this thing is shot, it's got a vibe to it. The score from Trent Reznor is amazing.
As expected.
Yes,
Just the guy never misses.
but it takes some big swings, no pun intended, with its music and the way it sort of keeps it going throughout the entire film.
Mhm.
And I just think this thing's a thrill ride. I would love to see this thing re-released. I would probably go see it in the theater yet again. But Challengers is my number 2 spot. All right, number 1 horror movie I've been championing as from the minute I saw it and walked out of the theater. I think this movie cooks. It is my favorite movie of the year, I'm surprised to say, but it is Alien Romulus. This is another movie that people could have written off as an unnecessary sequel in a franchise that maybe had run out of steam multiple times and had resurged. I think Alien is back yet again with Alien Romulus, as it is a true love letter to the entire franchise. There's something from every Alien film in this that pays respects to the entire franchise, which dates back to the 70s, as space colonizers come face to face with the most terrifying life form in the universe while scavenging the deep ends of a derelict space station. My favorite on screen performance by a male actor is in this movie, as David Johnson is fantastic as Andy. And I think that he is someone that the fans of the franchise can continue to get behind. And hopefully we get to see more Andy at some point. I think that Alien Romulus delivers on the tenseness. The atmosphere is very alien. The trailer was fantastic. I ate this movie up. We saw it during a matinee on a Friday, and I walked out going like, "Oh my gosh, that's as close to a five-star experience as I've seen this year." And I love what Fede Alvarez did with Alien Romulus. Very tough shoes to fill there, and he's paid so much respect to what has come before with Ridley Scott, obviously James Cameron. He's had to, Alien is looked at as this sci-fi horror movie. Aliens is looked at as a sci-fi action movie. He took the best of both worlds and made a sci-fi horror action movie that I love. Alien Romulus. If you haven't seen it, it's currently on Hulu.
Yes,
And
they've been killing it with horror movies this year. They've also got First Omen.
Alien Romulus was supposed to release directly to
Yep,
Hulu,
along with First Omen.
and along with First Omen, they gave it theatrical releases, worked out really well for Alien Romulus, and is my movie of the year. Now, I do want to point out I haven't seen The Brutalist, I haven't seen Nickel Boys, and I haven't seen A Complete Unknown yet. Those are the three that are sort of like, could they creep into my top 10? Potentially. Any one of those three could. Haven't seen those. Either due to availability or future plans here on the channel with what we plan to do with A Complete Unknown. However, I feel pretty good about my list. Alien Romulus, my favorite movie of 2024. If you want to see my entire rankings for every movie I saw, you go to my letterbox and you will see it's right here in the description. And you will see exactly what I thought of every single movie this year. All right, we have to get to Tyler's top 5 now. As I hope you didn't hate my list, Tyler. I mean,
I didn't hate the list at
thank
all.
you.
I
Thank
really
you.
like Alien Romulus. Think it's got just world class performances in it. It's got the tone of Alien One with the some of the action scenes you would get in Aliens. A lot of shots reminiscent of Aliens. But that's not my number five pick because my number five pick is actually an anime movie. This is my pick for best animated feature. It probably will not get nominated because this was a Japanese release that got very limited screenings around here, and that is Look Back. It's made by Tatsuki Fujimoto, the creator of Chainsaw Man, and it tells the story of two girls who share a love of drawing throughout school and become friends. And man, this story was just absolutely incredible. One of the more emotional stories I've seen this year. Um, and it's really just about not letting tragedy stop you in life and stop you from and then end up doing the things you want to do, not letting things like just depression or anxiety get in your way, and just getting out of your room and living your life. And I think this was an absolute beautiful film. It reignited my love of anime. It made me recognize Tatsuki Fujimoto as one of the great mangaka of this generation. Absolutely incredible film if you have not gone to see it. But, I don't blame people for not going to see it because it was like a 1 or 2 night only screening event.
Remind us of the name of it one more time.
Look Back.
Look back for those that have heard that impassioned review and want to take a look at it. Look back there at Tyler's number 5 spot. All right, we are getting right there into prime territory, about to hit the medal stand, but first we got to get to that 4th spot.
Number 4, a movie we share on our list, and that is Alien Romulus. I absolutely loved this film. We got to see it on a Friday when everybody else here was working, you managed to get Reed to let us play hooky and go see Alien, and it was just an absolute amazing time. Uh, I would say, oh, maybe just the fact that we got to skip work and go see a movie is what makes me like this movie so much. No, no, no. I went to go see it again. Absolutely loved it. There are some knocks against the movie. I wasn't fond of the effects they use for without spoilers, there's a callback to a character in one of the earlier movies. It doesn't look great. They kind of do the General Tarkin thing, and I just didn't think that looked great. But other than that, absolutely amazing film. Like you said, David Johnson, one of the best male performances of the year. I thought Kaylee Spaney was incredible as well. A very nice rebound after seeing her in Civil War, which we talked about in our trash movies of the year video.
Yes, sir.
This was great. I love the tone. I love the return to the original Alien horror, the claustrophobic feel of the spaceship. This was absolutely incredible, and that's why it's my number 4 movie of the year.
Well, a very strong choice there in the number 4 spot, considering it was my number 1. And Alien Romulus did a lot with a small budget, smaller budget horror movie. And I'm hoping the next Alien movie, they get a little bit more money to add to the VFX, but um, I hope Fede Alvarez has a future with this franchise. I really do.
He wants to make a sequel to Romulus. He should definitely do it. I would love to see it. Moving on to my number 3 spot. This was a movie that I originally had at my number 1 spot. I was very hyped for this movie, and I called it a perfect movie, but it's dropped down just because there's other great movies that have come out this year, and that is Sing Sing. This is another emotional movie for me. Um, I thought it had incredible performances from Coleman Domingo and as well as the supporting actor in that. Uh, Great cast and great dialogue. I really don't see anything wrong with this movie. It was just great, not as great as some of the other movies on my list, but I loved it all the same. I was a big champion of this movie, but it's just kind of dropped off a little bit as far as movies I think about often for movies of this year. And that's why it's
Unfortunate,
number 3.
Unfortunately, Sing Sing has dropped off a lot when it comes to its awards campaign. It's had the weirdest release structure
Yes.
of like limited but early release, and then they're planning to relaunch it wide, I believe, in January. And they're trying their hardest to make this thing matter, but Sing Sing is just not getting over with general audiences for some reason. And I think a lot of it is the release strategy.
It definitely the release strategy hurts it because it could never actually get a good wave of buzz. Sing Sing's release is like when you go to a football game and one or two people try starting the wave. It just doesn't work. You get a little something going, but you need everybody to say across the nation in more than 4 theaters or
Yeah.
whatever they've released Sing Sing in, saying, "This is good," and it's starting that big wave that cascades across the stadium. Right now, it's just a few stragglers here and there trying to start that wave.
And there's no singing in it,
And
which I think
there is no singing in it.
I'm
Most people do not know Sing Sing is a prison.
right. They don't. So they go like, "Oh, I don't want to go watch a musical." It's not a musical.
Sing Sing, isn't that the movie with, Matthew McConaughey?
Yeah. Oh man. Yeah. I think Joker 2 hurts Sing Sing from being seen by a lot of people. Okay.
Ha!
Let's move on to your second spot. This is your silver medalist, and this has got to be a movie that you loved.
Silver medalist just snuck up on the entire list because, a couple weeks ago, I look at my list and I think, "Oh, I think I've got my top 10 here. I think I've got it." Last week, we get a horror release, absolutely skyrocketed up to the number 2 spot on my list, and that is Nosferatu. I believe you said it. One of the most beautiful films we've seen this year, if not the most. I absolutely love the cinematography, love the composition of every frame, the color palette. It has absolutely incredible performances from top to bottom, and it just instills this true feeling of dread and fear throughout the movie that even Alien Romulus couldn't really get across for me. I absolutely love the gothic style of this. I think Lily Rose Depp is my new front runner for best actress performance, and also this is also my front runner for best cinematography. This was absolutely incredible. I saw it late in a prime theater, and the sound design absolutely just it hits so much harder than it did in a regular theater with all of the prime speakers. You can just feel Nosferatu's shadow creep over you, and you're just dreading the rest of the movie. It's intense.
I know that there are certain movies you have not seen that are set to come out in January in a wider release sort of format that you haven't had the opportunity to see. But do you feel pretty confident that Nosferatu will remain in those top 3 spots throughout the remainder of your 2024 list? Does it even have the potential chance to move up, or do you feel like it's pretty locked in right there at that 2 spot? It's a difficult question because you haven't seen everything, but
As far as new stuff entering and dethroning, or demedaling Nosferatu,
it's gonna be
not
tough.
happening. Not happening. That's pretty set. But as far as the potential for Nosferatu to creep up even more,
Yeah.
yeah, it's
'Cause
possible.
it's a movie you've been thinking about a
Yeah,
lot, talking about a lot. You're on this high right
I've
now.
seen it twice. I'm looking to see it a third time. You know, it really gets across the fear. But, as I learned from my number one choice, fear is the mind killer. I'm talking about Dune Part 2. This is an absolute banger of a movie. I saw this 6 or 5 or 6 times in the theater, so much that I actually lost count. I've never done that for a movie before. I love Timothy Chalamet's performance in this. I like Zendaya in this. I love Javier Bardem in this. Austin Butler's great. Stellan Skarsgård. Uh, I love the costuming, the effects. This is just a fantastic movie. The story is incredible. It's exactly what I wanted from sci-fi franchise in this day and age. Being able to tell a complex political narrative like a Game of Thrones, but also giving me that classic sci-fi imagery. And that's what Dune does. I absolutely love this movie, and I cannot wait for Dune Messiah in 2026.
Okay. Dune Part 2 did not make my top 10, but
I know.
it's not discrediting your pick because I know that you genuinely, love this film. I like Deadpool and Wolverine didn't make your top 10. So we have certain things that we're different on, and I'm good with that. You truly do love this movie, I know. It is the movie that got you into watching all the rest of the movies for the rest of the year, really. It was the first big movie that we covered here on the Meltdown.
Mhm.
And you went to go see it so many times that eventually you had to kind of force yourself to start watching other stuff. And then you started watching everything that existed out there. So that way you could protect people, their wallets, and their time. And I have a feeling that 2025, you're going to be going with that same sort of mission with trying to consume as much as you humanly can. So that way you can let everybody know what's a winner and what's a failure. But for you, it started with Dune Part 2, and here we are at the end of the year, and you're still riding that giant sandworm.
Yep. First movie of the year that I reviewed, I believe, or that we reviewed as a channel. First popcorn bucket we picked up. It's only right.
It
It's
started a
only right.
trend. Yeah, it started a trend there. So Dune Part 2, a lot of love there from Tyler. Once again, going through Tyler's top 10. Number 10, Late Night with the Devil. Number 9, The Wild Robot. Number 8, Challengers. Number 7, Honora. Number 6, A Real Pain, which, by the way, that's perfect because Honora is a real pain. Look back at the number 5 spot, something I don't want to look back at, Nora. Number 4, Alien Romulus, probably your strongest pick of your entire draft here. Sing Sing at number 3, which you called a 5-star movie when you saw it. And does that mean Nosferatu and Dune Part 2 are also 5-star movies
They
right now?
are. They
Okay, so you
I
you bumped them up.
if anything, Sing Sing might drop down to 4.5, but Dune and Nosferatu are 5 stars, no question about it. I absolutely love both of those movies.
I think I still have Alien Romulus. It's as close to a five-star experience as I could get this year, but I think I still have it at 4.5 overall. So I'm not sure I saw a single five-star this year, but Sing Sing, Nosferatu, and then Dune Part 2 is how you finish your list. Strong there, and we'll see how many of these play into award season. We're going to continue to talk about these for the months to come as those Oscar nominations will be coming out soon, and we're looking forward to seeing how our lists compare with what the Academy thinks. So that'll be a lot of fun. If Denis Villeneuve does not get a Best Director nomination,
I agree with Josh Brolin. It's just like might as well everybody should retire from the movie industry because if that's not how you get awards, then what does deserve an award?
there's
Like what are we calling the best direction if it's not one of the best technically crafted movies of the year that also saw a lot of financial success as well?
it did. If Dune Part 2 gets another re-release, will you book your ticket and go see it in the theater in the largest format you can?
Absolutely, especially if it's in prime. You gotta see movies in prime. That's what people don't get. They go to the little rinky dink theater just because it's the one that's closest. And I get it, it's convenient, but no, 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 no. You want the experience. You pay the same price. All you have to do is just look up and see if there's a prime theater near you at an AMC dine-in. And what that is, it's a very large screen. I believe 127 or something speakers in the ceiling. I believe you told me the exact amount, Tim, and I forgot it.
There's a lot, and you feel the movies for sure. I will say just a little caveat to that. If you're not a member of the A-list, it is more expensive to go to Prime than it is a regular theater. However, that's exactly why you should join the A-list there and
Yes.
get on there and go see. Then at that point, you're playing with fair game. You just have to book your reservation smartly. So, yes, strong advocate there. Tyler, I've turned him into more and more of a cinephile throughout the year, and I'm glad that you found a movie that you connected with so much. We have our list of the 2025 movies we're looking most forward to. What will be that sort of film that draws us into the theater? Tyler and I, we both share the same number one on that list. So go check those out for sure. Fun times here on The Meltdown, and we appreciate all of you for being a part of the journey and the ride here. As we want to remind you about our title sponsor as well at MyBookie at mybookie.ag. You can bet on anything, anywhere, anytime. Make sure you head over there and use that first time deposit bonus promo code next round. That's going to help you out there with my bookie, as you can be a part of daily odds boosts, same game parlays, and super contests by joining the my bookie family. Tyler, a chat check-in here on this final day of 2024.
Jeff says y'all's ability to recall these details from movies released in April is pretty impressive considering the amount of content you consume. Thank you, Jeff. It's a chore sometimes and sometimes you got to look up a little brief synopsis of the movie to jog your memory. But a lot of these we can remember. But I saw 130 something movies, so there's a lot of movies I can't remember because they're not worth remembering. Jeff Roberts says Terminator 1 and 2 are two of the best movies ever made. I will die on that hill. I won't be joining you on that hill. Although I do love Terminator 2
Yeah.
Judgment Day. That's a great movie. Hunter says that my Dune shirt is killer. Yes, it is. Thank you. He also says that Dune needs a re-release in IMAX. Roll the credits, biggest screen possible. I agree. It needs that for the Oscar push. It was an absolute cultural event when Dune Part 2 released earlier this year. And I think people have forgotten about that just because social media makes people's attention span shorter. So not everybody remembers that Dune Part 2 was still this year. And we need to remind them how good it was. And also, Jody says, shout out to Letterbox. Learned about the app from the Meltdown, and I absolutely love it. It's a great app. It's how we keep up with everything.
If I had not told you about Letterbox to begin the year, because I told you, I pulled you to the side and
I'd be hooked.
I'm like,
I'd be
Tyler,
toast.
Tyler, you gotta sign up for Letterbox, and a couple of weeks you put it off, and that's fine. But when you signed up, you're like, okay, I'll do this. And then now, when we go to a movie together, as soon as the credits go, I see your phone come out, and you're on Letterbox, and you're making your lists, you're checking them twice, trying to figure out which films are naughty or nice. I'll tell you
You,
this.
you sound like the bathrooms with Krampus schlop in them.
Say, Baby Girl, very naughty movie. Anyway, that's going to do it here for the Meltdown in 2024. We'll be back with you in 2025 looking at all the entertainment news, all the movies, all the television, all the pop culture. We'll blend in some lifestyle as well. We'll have EG joining us here for the new year once we get back. And I hope everybody has a happy and safe new year. It's been a wild ride for sure here in the Culver studio, and we plan to be here with you for the long haul. Thank you so much for your loyal support as loyal Meltdonians. Make sure you subscribe and hit that notification bell.